Jamie, now that the sealer is done, it's time to move on to the final step, the top coat.
Okay, so how do we proceed?
Well, Jamie, what we do is we're going to put on the top coat. The code is OWE 950. That's this product right here. The OWE 950 is very similar to the sealer and the application in terms of the application. We're going to use the same pump settings as before, but first we have to sand the sealer on the frame, which we've done here.
Okay, yeah, as you can see, I took some 320 grit silicon carbide paper, got the sealer sanded nice and smooth.
Excellent. The one difference I want to point out between the sealer and the top coat, Jamie, is the color. If you look at the top coat, you can see that it's almost opaque and it almost looks like caramel.
That's pretty interesting looking. Why is that?
Well, Jamie, that's because Circa adds a small amount of pigment to their top coats for water-based exterior.
And how come they do that?
Well, Jamie, they have to do that because pigment is the greatest thing that resists the degradation from the UV rays of the sun. The UV rays of the sun are continuously trying to break down the coatings, causing them to dissipate from the surface until they're gone, leaving the wood completely raw. Adding pigment greatly increases the UV resistance and prevents that from happening. Let's apply the top coat and finish the frame.
You want to apply the top coat at 8 to 12 wet mils also, just like the sealer. The top coat, however, we suggest reducing it with 10% water. You set the pump pretty much the same, 30 psi for a 30 to 1 pump, 40 to psi for a 20 to 1 pump. Atomization air again at 15 to 20 psi, and start with a 12 thousandths fluid tip. Again, these settings are just a starting point and might have to be adjusted depending on your particular equipment.
Wow. Jamie, that window frame looks great.
Yeah, we'll let it dry tonight. We'll come back tomorrow. It should flow out nice and smooth, stretch out, and dry down to a nice 30 sheen. And any of that little bit of orange peel you see first off will be just totally nice and smooth tomorrow.
Excellent. Good to know. Looking forward to it. So this is the next day. This is the finished frame with the water-based Circa exterior coating system on it, ready to be mounted outdoor.
Yeah, that looks really nice. What kind of performance can we expect from this type of coating?
It's a good question, Jamie. With the correct application of the coating and sound joinery in the construction of the door and window, it is not uncommon to get 5 years of maintenance out of this coating in a southern exposure, which is the exposure that is the most harsh to a wood coating.
Okay. And what kind of maintenance can people expect to have to do on this coating?
Well, there is some that will extend its life that I highly recommend. There are two things that I recommend doing. The first thing I recommend is regular cleaning. And Circa provides a cleaning schedule that involves a product called Curaleño. And basically what it does is it's a nano emulsion of waxes and resins that are applied like a polish. And I'm going to show everybody how to do that in just a minute. Once you put it on, it will deposit a thin layer of film on top of the coating, and it will be an added layer of resistance from dirt, pollution, water, and the UV rays of the sun. The other thing I recommend is when this coating does start to break down, it's going to start to get a little bit of a milky or cloudy appearance on the surface. This can happen anywhere from 1 to 3 years after it's applied, depending on its exposure. And Circa makes a maintenance program. And basically what it is it's a single component water-based coating that's made to be applied by brush. And it has a certain rheology to it where the brush strokes flow out completely. And you just put it on after a little bit of cleaning, and it actually bonds to the existing film and rejuvenates the finish.
Wow, that sounds pretty easy.
It is. It's not bad at all. So what I'd like to do now is just give everybody a quick demonstration as to how we apply the nanotechnology polish. So I'm going to take this frame and put it down. Thank you. And it's very simple. It's just a matter of spray. Take a microfiber cloth, something very fine, similar to this. Wipe. Turn the cloth. Just a nice soft wipe. And it's done. So what we've done is we've deposited a small layer of wax and resin on top of the film of the existing coating. So it's now just adding another layer of protection.
Looks easy.
It is. As far as frequency is concerned, The more often you do it, the longer the life and the better the wearing is going to be. I recommend once every 3 months with a minimum of no less than once every 6 months. And it'll add a lot of life and performance to the coating.
So Bob, I know a big area of concern on these types of windows is water damage. So is there any sort of solution for end grains and crevices where water might get into the window and cause an issue?
Actually, Jamie, there is. Scientists will tell you that the end grain of wood will absorb moisture and liquids 1,000 times more than the horizontal surface will. And it's always an area of concern with moisture protection. Even when the coating is on the window and it's completely sealed, that's a vulnerable spot to absorb moisture and standing water. So what Circa has done is they've created a product that's an end grain sealant. The code is SIW950. And what it is it's a very high viscosity version of the resins that are used actually in the coating. And what diligent woodworkers will do is after the impregnation step, they will apply it to the end grains and let it soak into them, and it becomes a very good sealant and an added layer of protection in the end grain. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to show everybody how we go about doing that.
Okay, great. Let's check it out.
Cool. So I'm going to take this frame down, and what you'll be able to see in the camera is this is end grain, very susceptible to attack by moisture. So what we're simply going to do is we're going to take this, and I prefer to do it vertical normally, but for the sake of the demonstration, we're going to take a small amount. We're going to put it on a spatula, and we are going to putty it onto the window. And you can see it's got very, very high viscosity. It just kind of will hold its position very well. You only need a thin layer. And I'm going to scrape it so that it's almost flat. And apply it so that seals the end grain. I'm going to wipe off the excess. I'm going to put a little on the bottom piece the same way. I have a little extra here that I can use. Now, believe it or not, that's all you need. Now we're going to let that dry and come back a little later, and you're going to see that it's completely clear and ready to sand.